Lithuania drew up plans to close its border with Belarus indefinitely, the country's Prime Minister Inga Rygueniena said. It comes after flights at the capital's airport were repeatedly disrupted as a result of multiple balloon sightings used to smuggle in cigarettes. The balloons caused flight cancellations, diversions, and delays. The country's border guard service decided overnight on Sunday to close the border for 24 hours. The restrictions will be extended until Wednesday, when the government is expected to decide whether to prolong the closure indefinitely.
Trečiadienį bus vyriausybės posėdis, tai jau dabar pasiruošę esame sprendimą neribotai uždaryti sieną su Baltarusija ir su tik tam tikrom išimtim. Tai reiškia, kad diplomatinis paštas galės judėti, taip pat mūsų ir ES piliečiai galės iš Baltarusijos patekti pas mus.
Answering a question during a media briefing, the European Commission said they were in contact with local authorities.
In this case, as in all of the previous cases of drones, for example, there have been several across the EU and EU airports. We are in close contact with the national authorities in this case, as well as EASA.
Rygueniena has referred to the incursions as, quote, hybrid attacks and floated the possibility of the country invoking NATO Article 4.
U.S. President Donald Trump has arrived in Japan as he continued his week-long tour of Asia filled with high-stakes diplomacy and meetings. Trump departed Washington a few days ago, arriving in Malaysia, his first stop, where he brokered a ceasefire agreement between Thailand and Cambodia, ending a months-old border dispute. In Tokyo, Trump was welcomed at the Imperial Palace, where he took part in a courtesy column visit with Japanese Emperor Naruhito. He's also due to meet with Japan's new Prime Minister, Sanae Takaishi, who assumed office less than a week ago and is hoping to turn a page on U.S.-Japan relations.
I look forward to meeting the new Prime Minister. I hear phenomenal things. She was a great ally and friend of Shinzo Abe, who was my friend, a former Prime Minister, and he was great. He was one of my best. He was one of the best, and the group he was one of the best, really best. And I know they were very close, and I think philosophically they were close, which is good. It's going to be very good. That really helps Japan and the United States. I think she's going to be great.
Takaishi has already extended a gesture of friendship, offering to buy a fleet of Ford F-150 trucks from the U.S. for official use, despite its impracticality given Japan's many narrow streets. Trump has clashed with Japan's former leader over what he called Tokyo's unfair trading relationship with Washington. The U.S. president is also set to visit South Korea to meet with President Lee Jae-myung, a trip which will also feature high-stakes talks with his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping.
Thank you very much.
A U.S. warship docked in Trinidad and Tobago's capital, Port of Spain, on Sunday as the Trump administration looks to boost its military presence in the region amid a continued standoff with Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. Washington deployed the USS Gravely, a guided missile destroyer, which comes in addition to the USS Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier already in proximity to Venezuela. According to officials in Trinidad and Tobago, the U.S. Navy ship will remain in their country until Thursday and will play host to some military exercises between both nations. Maduro slammed the move as a hostile provocation, calling it an attempt by the U.S. government to, quote, fabricate a new eternal war. The U.S. has so far carried out 9 strikes in the Caribbean Sea against what it says are Venezuelan drug-carrying boats. Trump says it's his duty to continue fighting the entry of illicit drugs into his country, which pose a grave risk to U.S. citizens. He claims the drugs, arriving mostly from Venezuela, are dealt by Maduro himself, who he previously called the world's biggest narco-trafficker.
French police have arrested 2 suspects over the jewellery theft at the Louvre Museum last week, say Paris prosecutors. The 2 men, one of whom was trying to board a flight, cannot be questioned by authorities for up to 96 hours. Items worth €88 million were taken from the world's most visited museum last Sunday, when 4 thieves broke into the building via a balcony in broad daylight. They used a vehicle-mounted mechanical lift and power tools. Around 8 pieces of historic jewellery were removed, all associated with French 19th century royalty. The heist has been criticised as a national humiliation by some, raising questions over the museum's security.
The party of Argentinian President Javier Milei has won Sunday's midterm election, scoring over 40% of the votes. His La Libertad Avanza party won the crucial election to renew almost half of the lower house of Congress, according to tallies with more than 97% of votes counted. The election offered an important vote of confidence to strengthen Milei's plan for a radical free market policy, backed by billions of dollars pledged by U.S. President Donald Trump. The Argentine leader won decisive victories in key districts, sweeping 8 in Sunday's vote. Trump has promised a $40 billion rescue for the nation and has made further aid contingent on Milei's victory.
An Egyptian convoy with heavy equipment, including excavators and bulldozers, entered Gaza overnight into Sunday. The team will help search and retrieve the remaining bodies of Israeli hostages. It is the first time Israel has allowed for the entry of Egyptian vehicles to help with the search. Under the U.S.-brokered ceasefire, Israel agreed to give back 15 bodies of imprisoned Palestinians for every body of an Israeli hostage. However, the massive destruction of the Strip has made it difficult for Hamas to find the remaining bodies. On Sunday, the militant group expanded its search in new areas of the Gaza Strip. Meanwhile, local authorities reported Israeli forces struck a refugee camp in Gaza on Saturday night. The Israeli military claimed it targeted Islamic Jihad militants, while the group denied it was preparing an attack. Hamas called the strike a, quote, clear violation of the ceasefire agreement.
The U.S. government's Department of Agriculture, USDA, has announced that federal food aid will not go out on November 1, raising the stakes for families nationwide as the government shutdown drags on. The new notice, posted on the USDA website, comes after the Trump administration said it would not tap roughly $5 billion in contingency funds to keep benefits through the SNAP food aid program flowing into November. With 1 in 8 Americans using SNAP to buy groceries, the prospect of families not receiving food aid has deeply concerned states run by both Democrats and Republicans.
What we know about food insecurity in this country is that volunteer food pantries like ours and others cannot meet the need. SNAP is an essential piece of meeting the food need in the United States. And SNAP is being cut. It's very tragic. And so we are concerned about sustainability.
The looming situation also comes as the government shutdown becomes the second longest on record. It began on 1 October after U.S. lawmakers could not agree to pass a bill to fund government services when the federal budget expired. The Trump administration blames Democrats who say they will not agree to reopen the government until Republicans negotiate with them on extending expiring subsidies under the health insurance known as the Affordable Care Act. Meteorologists have warned that Hurricane Melissa, which is sustaining Category 5 strength, may cause catastrophic flooding and numerous landslides in the Caribbean. According to the U.S. National Hurricane Center, Melissa is expected to move near or over Jamaica early Tuesday, then cross Cuba into the southeastern Bahamas through Wednesday. On Monday, the National Hurricane Center said Melissa had maximum sustained winds of 260 kilometers per hour as it moved westward. In response, some residents in Jamaica began to take precautions and tried to stock up on adequate food to weather the storm. Officials warned that some communities in Jamaica may not survive the catastrophic flash floods that could occur from some 38 to 76 centimeters of rain in Jamaica and the Southern Caribbean's second largest island, Hispaniola, by Wednesday. At least 4 people were killed by Melissa in Haiti and in the Dominican Republic over the weekend.